Und damit ein herzliches Willkommen zu einem weiteren Part Let's Play Fake Order. Ich bin es am Simafix. Beim letzten Mal sind wir hier in Salisbury unterwegs gewesen, haben Informationen nach Mesh gesucht und leider keine gefunden. Daraufhin hatte der Werte Oberon die Idee, dass wir Aurora, die Anführerin des Windlands, treffen, und diese war ziemlich begeistert von uns. Das hier hat uns hier die Aufgabe gestellt, nach Norwich zu gehen, wo eine düstere Bedrohung hier, ich denke mal, das wird übrigens, oh mein Gott, das wird Norwich sein, oder? Ja, genau, da wo die Smogwolke des Todes ist, genau, da meint ihr ihn. Und ich denke mal, diese werden wir beseitigen müssen. Zuvor schauen wir jetzt erstmal, wie es weitergeht, und irgendwann wird unser Weg dahin führen, denn ansonsten werden wir nicht die Möglichkeit haben, die Glocke zu läuten und natürlich hier den Beginn der Revolution durchzuführen. So, she wants us to get rid of the calamity in Norwich, huh? I don't think she'd be the one to bring it up. What is the calamity in Norwich? I don't know much about these calamities either, since I've never seen one for myself, but I have heard plenty of stories. Apparently they are a kind of natural disaster that befalls fairy Britain every 100 years. I've heard about these calamities too, and I've also really told Maxi about them. Norwich is a port town in eastern Britain, and apparently it's been showing signs that it'll be the home of the next calamity for a few months now. They say there's a ton of black stuff rising into the air that's gathered above it like rain clouds. Aurora said she permit us to ring the bell as long as we can resolve this calamity, right? So, we need to disperse these clouds so soon, huh? Unfortunately, I never learned any magecraft that could do that. Well, that's okay. Norwich is tall enough in order that I think we can forget about it for the time being. Right now, our top priority is finding Mesh. And now that Aurora is helping us to do that, we should receive some word of her whereabouts in a few days. So all of you guys need to do is to wait at the inn until then. Then again, doing nothing might not be the best use of our time, huh? Okay, I'll send you a list of things you can do to earn money and get information later then. Are you going to go off on your own again? Well, you know, I thought about what Carl said, and I probably should see about paying my tabs before I start racking up more. Okay, that's all for now. I'll see you all again in 3 days. Wie war das nochmal? Irgendwie 10 Jahre Schuld oder so? There. That should get them to rest up in Salisbury at least a little more. Meanwhile, I've got my work cut out for me. First I need to go find out what's going on in Norwich. Oh, welcome back, Blanca. How's the situation up north? How far have Knok-na-Riab forces advanced? Huh? Another child of prophecy has shown up there? I definitely wasn't expecting that. Angel didn't say anything about there being 2 of them in the prophecies. This puts Artoria in an even more precious position. I thought I'd have more time. Yes, of course, Artoria is the real child of prophecy. That much was never in doubt. But it won't matter who the real one is. What matters will be who the fairies believe is the real one. Still, it's not all bad. Let's focus on the silver lining here. Our first child of prophecy in the north is bound to draw Morgan's attention. Which means Artoria and Maxi should be safe for now. That'll give me time to ensure they grow stronger. They're not ready for Norwich. They need to experience Britain for themselves and to gain the power to adapt and conquer its challenges. Do we really have time for that, you say? You're a tough crowd, aren't you, Blanca? But you have to take your time with the opening act. That's how it was for us first too, remember? Das schelmische Oberon. Lenkt hier die Fäden, wie wir vorangehen. Still thinking about that meeting? Oh, no, I'm fine. I was just nervous since I'm not used to speaking with the head of the entire clan. Sorry, I've got a lot off my mind. I think I'm just going to turn in for the night. Let's meet up here again tomorrow morning, okay? Bye for now. Looks like we just have to readjust our prerequisites of her too. Come on, Maxi, Tristan. Let's head back to our room. We should talk about our next moves while it's still safe to do so. Okay, that's everything that happened so far as a nice tidy report. It's all yours now, Typhon. Take it away, my little familiar. Oh, die Brieftauben. There, that takes care for a report to the Stormborder. We should hear back from them in 2 days. Now, let's go over everything we learned so far. That said, our main topic isn't morgen, but... The Child of Prophecy supposedly going to defeat her, right? Yep, the truth is, we've been dropping our guard around here a little too much. At first we thought it was just a coincidence that she shared her name with King Arthur and didn't think about it any further. But we can now say for certain that she is this Lostbelt King Arthur. I'm sure I don't need to remind you, too, that Chaldea already confronted the legend about King Arthur in the 6th Singularity. But I still think it's worth our time to quickly refresh our memories of the legends, just so we are all on the same page. Also Leute, ich erinnere mich da schon dran. The Legend of King Arthur, sehen wir mit normaler Stimme. The Legend of King Arthur takes place in the 5th century, a time when Britain was in great turmoil. It began with the collapse of the Continental Empire, with the Emperor no longer keeping Britain safe. It came under frequent attacks of the Saxons, a foreign enemy who crossed the sea and attacked Britain's shores. Die einzelnen Länder waren unterschlagen, jedes Land hat ihr eigenes Ding gemacht und am Ende kam ihm ein König und vereinte es unter dem heiligen Schwert. At the same time, Britain was an island nation ruled by many different clans and those clans' kings. While there were always constant squabbles between the clans, there was also a war with the Picts up in the north, where the clans' kings agreed to work together. But one king created an irreparable rift in this alliance. He used the other clans for his own ends, with the goal to ultimately uniting all of Britain. His name was Vortigern. He was said to be the avatar of a white dragon born from Britain itself, made to bring it to ruin. Vortigern invented the Saxons to the Isle, throwing into chaos. Londinium, the fortress city that served as the heart of Britain during the Empire's reign, was destroyed. Vortigern then defeated and killed Uther Pendragon, the greatest king in all of Britain. And so Britain entered a dark age, a time where none of the islands could escape its immediate destruction. However, hope still remained. King Uther's most trusted aide, Merlin, the great mage who had long kept Britain safe, taught people that this too was all part of the prophecy. Übrigens, ich bin mir ganz sicher, der Typ hier vom Spiegelclan, das ist auch sicher Merlin. King Uther has already chosen his successor. They shall be the next king. Whoever drew the sword of selection from the stone shall be Britain's king. Many knights tried their hand on drawing the sword, but none of them succeeded. It was only once the knight had all left, convinced that the sword of selection was no more than a delusion, that a young squire of 15, a boy who had been raised without ever knowing he was King Uther's son, came and drew the sword from the stone with no one there to bear witness. That sword was Calibrun. And the boy did indeed go on to become the King of Britain, Arthur Pendragon, the knight among knights, or as we know here, Arthuria Pendragon. After announcing himself as King Uther's successor, King Arthur assembled the lords of Britain and led them to 12 magnificent victories against the Saxons. In doing so, he proved himself an invincible king, the undefeated king of knights. But, unbeknownst to him, the Saxons weren't his only enemy. The greatest threat the king of knights faced came from within his own family. Vortigern, the avatar of the White Dragon who defeated King Arthur's father Uther and brought Britain to its knees. Morgan, the fairy queen who declared it was Britain's very will that he becomes its ruler. Morgan's machinists succeeded in robbing the king of knights of Calibrun, but the fairies gave him an even greater sword. That sword was Excalibur, the sacred sword forged within the planet's inner sea. In the world of magecraft, it's considered a divine construct, an ultimate weapon meant to destroy that which threatens the very planet. In laying claim to the sacred sword, King Arthur became Britain's savior in both name and deed. After a climatic battle with Vortigern in the ruins of Londinium, King Arthur, with help from the fairies, built the towering white castle of Camelot. Lords from all across the Isle came to Camelot to serve the King of Knights. They became the Knights of the Round Table, where all they are treated as equals. It's a bit odd telling the story with Tristan here, but this is how the Knights of the Round Table were formed. Lancelot, the knight from France, blessed by the Lady of the Lake. Gawain, the heir of Orkney, blessed by the sun. Tristan, nephew of the Duke of Cornwall and the Prince of Tragedy. He, while you, are also said to be the symbol of romantic period. That's right, they are the proud Knights of the Round Table, my dearest friend, who filled its 13 seats. Sturdy Percival, clever Kay, loyal Bedivere, earnest Gaeris, kind-hearted Gareth, Agravae the Enforcer, Palmades the Duelist, Tacturon Mordred, and the greatest knight of all, chosen by the Holy Grail, Galahad, the Revelation. In addition to King Arthur's the first seat, you could also count King Pellinore, King Arthur's trusted advisor, and Bors, the future 11th seat, for 15 in total. At any rate, those are the Knights of the Round Table I knew when they were at their peak. Yeah, the Knights of the Round Table at peak is also the happiest time in legend of King Arthur. While other problems would present themselves in the quest of the Holy Grail in the decisive battle against the Picts and the Saxons, it was the affair between Lancelot and Guinevere, King Arthur's queen, that changed things forever. Once the affair came to light, the Knights of the Round Table become shadows of their former self. During the expedition to the Roman Empire, Mordred took advantage of the king's Arthur's absence and staged a rebellion. That was but the beginning that would later be known as King Arthur's final battle, the Battle of Camlan. It was in this battle that King Arthur drew his final breath. Bedivere personally returned the sacred sword to the fairies, and the final chapter of ancient Britain's history was concluded. After that, King Arthur's body was brought to Avalon, the paradise at the world's ends, by the fairies of the lake, as the future king who would one day return to life, Britannien im tiefsten Tiefen der Dunkelheit zu retten. And that's a quick and dirty version of the legend of King Arthur. Thanks for listening. Yep, I think I've got it. Das wusste ich aber schon. Ich pass auf, wenn wir durch die Singularitäten hüpfen. So, without further mind, let's get back to British Lostbelt. In proper human history, King Arthur drew the sword of selection while he was still an unknown boy. And amidst the hope, envy, admiration, and prejudice of the other knights, ascended to the throne as king. Meanwhile, here in fairy Britain, Artoria may still be unknown and unrecognized. But even so, she wields the staff of selection, and she was traveling across Britain on her own as the child of prophecy. So she's got the same name, the same face, and the same destiny. No way that all can be a coincidence. Which means Artoria Casa is the world's King Arthur. She destined to be Britain's savior. Britain's savior, huh? But why now? King Arthur saved Britain in the 5th century, but this is 2019. If she really is Britain's savior, shouldn't she have shown up in the distant past? That's the question, isn't it? I'm not sure why her story taking place now either. But I did overhear one interesting thing from some local fairies. Apparently the child of prophecies is the reincarnation of Azek, the savior, and was sent here to save Britain once again. Ask, as in the word tree from Norse mythology? Yep, at least it's the same name. See, once Morgan began ruling Britain, she officially named the period of the time era of the High Queen. And the timing lines up exactly with the proper human history changed to AD. But while proper human history stopped in the year AD 2019, in this world the year 2019 of the era of the High Queen is still unfolding. And the previous era, aka BC in proper human history terms, is called Fae era. Furthermore, during the Fae era, there was apparently a fairy who saved Britain from the calamities countless times. Ask, the savior. Apparently there are only a few fairies left who still remember her. Hector the Immortal, Grand Duke, Waste Heat Wernick, Grimmer the Sage, and Tarot, the First Knight, Grimmer. War das nicht der Wolf, der Mesh hier gerettet hat? But does this speak of a legend and hushed tones? So if a savior showed up in this world before, that may mean Fairy Britain has a system for such things. Something akin to the counterforce that the Isle itself uses to fight back when Britain is in danger. And if that's true, it would explain why Artoria was only born now in this time. Plus, we're going up against High Queen freaking Morgan here, but who else but King Arthur would fight her? I wonder if Morgan really is still a bad guy in this Lostbelt. Anyway, that took longer than I expected, but now that we've gone over everything, I'm gonna make 2 suggestions. First, I think we should continue working with Artoria Caster. While she doesn't necessarily have to destroy this Lostbelt, it does seem pretty clear that we need to face High Queen Morgan at some point. And when we do have the Child of Prophecy on our side, we can only work for advantage. And second, I think we should keep our goal, including Chaldea, whole deal to ourselves. It's fine to tell her about proper human history. Hell, it'd be impossible to communicate if we didn't. But we shouldn't reveal that we are eliminating 5 other Lostbelts to date. I know it's not the most honest move, but sometimes not laying all your cards on the table is the way to go. Like I said before, there's something strange about this world even for a Lostbelt, and there's still way too much we don't know. So until we have a much better understanding of what's going on here, I want to keep our goal of stopping Britain from disappearing. Even if we eventually end up having to fight it after, saving it. Okay, so we're going to keep all this from Artoria. That's right. I'm sorry, Maxi. I know that it won't be easy for you. But for what it's worth, my intuition is telling me things aren't going to come to an end. That I have a feeling we're going to save Britain, stop this collapse from destroying our world, and go separate ways with a smile, without ever having to do battle with Britain. Wieso bin ich mir sicher, dass es nicht so laufen wird? Ach ja klar, weil es nie so bis jetzt gelaufen ist. Nun gut. Oh, wir haben einen Fight. Ich darf meine Servants vor Beginn des Kampfes auswählen? Suspicious. Sehr seltsam, liebe Leute. Nun gut. Aber kein Problem für mich. Dann würde ich doch einfach mal sagen, werden wir... Warte, war das mein Team? Ne, es war nicht mein Team. Wartet. Genau, hier. Dann werden wir doch hier mal schauen, liebe Leute, was wir hier so erwirken können hier. Also, auf jeden Fall, wir haben jetzt einen Plan, also mehrere Aufgaben. Mesh finden, Norwich natürlich, Morgen besiegen, die Lockenbelten und natürlich aus der Tore rausquetschen, wie sie zum mächtigsten Servant ever wird. Morning, everyone. Hope you don't mind that I had a breakfast before you. You've got to try this bread. It's so soft and yummy. Apparently, they make it from, right, wheat. Is using wheat for bread that unusual here? Seems that way. Sie zaubern es wahrscheinlich für. Too bad, since they have some of the highest quality wheat I've ever seen, even compared to proper human history. That's right. Dorian, she taught me how to make it. I had no idea you could use flour like that. All this time, I've practically been sitting on a gold mine. So this is a fairy lives in a grand building, but he is ignorant of the true value of flour. It seems there are significant knowledge gaps between individual fairies. Or rather, yep, there are basically 2 types of fairies. Those who only superficially copy human civilizations, and those who are interested in its inner workings. Most fairies are copies who are satisfied just playing to pretend. The thing about fairies is they can do anything without human technology, so they don't have to know how it works. You know how when cars get more reliable, there's less need for drivers to repair them. And so, over time, there are few drivers who know how their car works. It's a lot like that. Whenever fairies feel like bread, they can just create some from their own magic energy. Easy peasy. But the bread they create, whatever way, is just an imitation of bread they had before, like it was a 3D printer. Basically, fairies can't experience culture without some kind of originating data to work from. Even Mikey here used to be a typical copier. It was only when I started working here that he began caring about the details. It's true. I was a real dull fairy until I met Demi-Servant. But now every day is more for fun. And alas, I love being alive. I used to think preserving humans was a waste of time, but not anymore. Lady Aurora was right. We need humans if we are going to enjoy our lives. If there's one thing humans are good at it's making technology. They come up with all the sorts of fascinating things you just don't see in nature. Sure, some of those things aren't fun or tasty, like iron and gunpowder. But I've come to think of humans as our equals now. Heck, I'd even say I respect them. When the last owner left his pup to me, I thought it was going to be nothing but a pain in the neck, but now I know better. We need something to live for, something we want to do for our sakes, not just to fulfill our purpose. There's no way I'm ever going back to just plain old living again. Well, there you have it. In general, fairies are really pure of heart, or to put it another way, easily influenced. That's not true, Demi-Servant. It's all because of you. Nothing Lady Aurora ever got me to change my mind like this. Okay, Mike, in that case, maybe you could learn how to say my name properly already? What do you mean? I am saying it properly. Alright, I've also got a message for you from Oberon. He said to tell you to come to Salisbury Fields for an important learning experience. Huh? Learning experience? Sounds like we've got a job to do. Auf gut, kämpfen war ja eh klar. Ich dachte, Oberon kommt jetzt wieder in 3 Tagen zurück. Übrigens, das, was hier Oberon dieses eine Gespräch hatte, das hat sehr seltsam geklungen, muss ich ganz ehrlich sagen. Auf jeden Fall weiß er schon mehr, als er uns hier preisgibt. Aber na gut. Ignorieren wir das jetzt erstmal. Oh Mann, das was wir am besten können, nämlich draufhauen. So, danke, Toria. Nein, er hat's überlebt. Zwei haben's überlebt. Oh, alle haben's überlebt, Mann. Oh, schlechter Damage morgen, Mann. Damn you. Nicht schlimm. Hältst du dich für cool, Mann, weil du hier meine Sterne klaust? Hältst du dich dafür echt für cool? Das nehme ich meine Sterne. Das nehme ich Sterne, Mann, Baby. Jetzt ist die goldene Frage, wie wir die am besten down kriegen. Passt. So. Und jetzt spielen wir, meinen Werten. Komm. Welche Bedrohung muss ich denn hier bekämpfen? Sind wir jetzt einfach zum Unkret-Jäter geworden? Oh, ein Moors. Ja. Was macht das eigentlich? Increased Damage dealt against Fae. Inflict Curse. Sehr schön. Wir haben 2 Faes. Vielleicht ist das nicht so gut. Vielleicht sollten wir das Ding schnell abmachen. Und da sehen wir übrigens einen anderen Charakter, der wahrscheinlich noch sehr bald in der Story auftauchen wird. Die werte Boban Sith. Tristan denkt sich, kenne ich die irgendwer? Nee. Oh, Leute, schaut euch diese Small Spells an, wie sie da poppen. Sehr billig, Leute. Ich muss von den Dingern noch knapp 200 Stück farmen, also sehr gut. So, that's how you're supposed to get rid of those pesky birds. I had no idea. I kept just asking them nicely if they would leave, but they wouldn't listen. Feats are delicate things at times. They require bolder tactics. but I also understand and respect your implication to not hurt the birds if you don't have to. So I suggest leaving a straw likeness of yourself in our field. It will help to deter such behavior. This way, the birds will mistake that likeness for you and stop by attacking that. Which should buy you enough time to do, well, something. Am I? Really? I never would have thought of that. Are you some kind of genius? Well, I wouldn't disagree with that. Pretty sure that's not how you're supposed to use scarecrows. Was Tristan always like that? Pretty much. He might seem like he's got his head on straight, but most of the time he's actually up in the clouds. Still, he can be a perfect knight, at least as long as he has someone to keep him on track. Anyway, the caveat that there are also very made imitations of human society aside, what did you think of Salisbury Fields? They look completely real. True, regardless of how they got here, the fields themselves are the genuine article. Apparently agriculture has been a big deal up in the North Britain for a long time now, but it was never too popular in the South. It wasn't until Aurora stepped in that Salisbury finally got serious about it. I've seen small fields back in my village, but I've never seen any so big and open before. I wonder why they weren't more popular up till now. Well, we always had to abandon them whenever the Moors showed up. There aren't many Moors in the north, so there was nothing stopping them from making fields up there. But here in the south, we still see Moors all the time, so the only ones who would venture outside the city are really strong fairies. The Fang clan can apparently hold out for a little while by telling themselves that death and war are inverted. But for weaker fairies like me, without astrality, general knowledge of other worlds, we can't even touch the Moors without putting ourselves at risk. And even if the Moors weren't a problem, we'd still have to remake the fields every 100 years anyway. You're talking about the calamities, aren't you? Are you scared of them, too? Even though you live here forever? Of course we are. The only fairies who can survive a calamity are the ones allowed to live in Camelot. All the rest of us can do is suffer and disappear. There's not a fairy in all of Britain who doesn't fear the calamities. I'm not even sure how much longer Lady Aurora can hold on her glow, not after what happened in Norwich. Make no mistake, now that a calamity has come to Norwich, Salisbury has to be next. And when it does, not even Lady Aurora will survive. So why doesn't Lady Aurora run away to Camelot? She could, but none of the other fairies who live in Salisbury would be allowed to join her in there. So she said that if a citizen couldn't come to Camelot with her, then she wouldn't be going either. Of course, the High Queen didn't like that. So now Lady Aurora is also banned from Camelot. I see. So I also have grievance with the High Queen. You know, there have been anti-Queen movements popping up around the country. If you want to protest a decision, maybe you could join one of those. Huh? No, I'm not that upset about it. Besides, I can't even imagine defying her. I might be afraid of the calamities, but even more afraid of the Queen's army. There's more of the Queen's power than just having enough magic energy to cover all of Britain after all. She also has a troop of highly trained fairy soldiers, as well as knights under protection who commanded them. Tristan of the Bewitched Bow, Gawain of the Sun, and Lancelot, the Light of the Lake. As long as the three Tamlin are around, nobody can hope to defy the Queen. Huh? Huh?
What?
I wonder why they are so shocked.
Ist dir nicht aufgefallen, dass der Dude neben uns auch Tristan heißt?
Ja, gut. Okay, liebe Leute. Auf jeden Fall, nun ist es raus. Nicht natürlich nur Artoria, sondern auch morgen sind in dieser Welt, sondern auch die treuesten Ritter der Tafelrunde. Und diesen müssen wir uns auch stellen. Doch jetzt machen wir erstmal einen kleinen Cut. Beim nächsten Mal geht es weiter und dann schauen wir mal, was unser guter Tristan zu seinem alter Ego hier sagt. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Ciao.